My name is Sabrina, and I'm with On-Chain Listings as a business analyst. And today I'm with Adam Yormack, the CLO of OCL.
How you doing, Sabrina? Thanks for having me.
I'm good, thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you. My name is Adam Yormack. I am the Chief Legal Officer for On-Chain's Listing. I am a licensed Florida attorney, and I'm also licensed with title companies throughout the country, specifically in Colorado and Florida. We do closings on both residential and commercial properties in both of those states. And I specialize in real estate and commercial transactions throughout Florida. I'm a lawyer by background and trade, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. This is my first question. How can OCL streamline the approval process of property transfers for title lawyers?
There's a number of ways in which you can streamline the process. The most important being that it can aggregate the transaction in a single place for all the different parties who are working on it. So in any single transaction, really the goal of the lawyer and the goal of the title company is to handle as many of the parties as necessary to ensure a smooth transaction. And that's really where most of the friction comes. Once you've agreed on what the closing is going to look like, the friction comes in all of those, different parties participating in the transaction. And what OCL allows, and through the blockchain technology it utilizes, is it allows for that friction to be reduced by bringing in not only an aggregation of all the parties in the contracts into a single place, but as we scale, we'll be able to smart contract a lot of what is being entered into the system, create nodes which allow the right players to participate in the authentication. So it allows the players to authenticate through the nodes the correct data that we need to close. And so instead of having this, information, some of it held with the mortgage company, maybe some of it held with the title company, and the attorney, the buyers, the sellers reps, maybe even accountants or other parties who may or may not be involved, everybody's using a similar platform in which to not only communicate, but to share information. As that becomes a reality and the process becomes at least more communicatable in what's necessary while still keeping separation of the parties, you're going to reduce a lot of that friction throughout the transaction process.
Thank you. My next question is, how can law firms benefit from partnering with on-chain listings?
Law firms and also title practitioners, title companies, really anybody who's involved in the process of, receiving the contract all the way through closing is going to be able to benefit in a number of ways. The most significant will be OCL will have the ability to put all the contracts through smart contracts and programmable blockchain tech, right? We can actually create the contracts that are being used right now, which get sent out multiple ways, mostly through email, but allowing a single source of that data and information also on a contract that's immutable. So right now we use programs like a PDF or something similar, in which the document is locked. However, throughout the process, there's amendments and there's sometimes multiple iterations of the same contract that can cause problems with the closing or cause problems with, issues down the line. What is so nice about this process and what OCL is doing is it allows a seamless process where everything is accessible on a chain, but also a stream, a timeline. So it's very understandable of not only when and what was changed or amended in the contract cycle, but also if there's been any input or even things taken out, from beginning to end. So what OCL should be able to do for law firms like myself and title companies as well is create something in which all of the different input from the different actors that are involved in a transaction ends up in a single location. So it's aggregated in one place. And because it's also immutable, we provide a guarantee, right? The guarantees there that those are accurate as the way they're supposed to. So, currently there's a lot of back-end organization and data handling and just sort of, information document work that goes into making sure that a transaction is processed correctly. And done correctly, OCL will provide most of that automation. And so you're really eliminating or reducing the need for that human input, which should, in theory, also reduce error in the process.
Thank you. And my last question is, as a title lawyer, do you see people being fearful of this technology? And what would you say to these people?
I do see people being fearful of it. And there's a lot of that fear, I think, comes from a misunderstanding or maybe what they read in the news about where really AI could go. And I try to explain to them the differences between the two types of technology. Once you're over that and you understand that, you should have a healthy, I don't know if fear is the right word, but you should be aware that technology is eating all of the most simple jobs out there as much as it can. I mean, the whole world is trying to automate as much as it can. And the fear should be that, yes, they're coming for your job, but it should also be inspiring, because you are going to have to keep working as hard as you possibly can to stay ahead of it, depending on where you are in the system. Yes, you should be aware that this is coming. And the best thing that people can do is really prepare themselves by educating and learning how to use the technology and becoming invaluable working alongside of it. I think that for title companies, attorneys, and anybody really involved in the process who has a bigger picture of what's going on, they will embrace everything about what blockchain has to offer to the real estate industry. And I think more than anything, there is a absolute need to update the entire industry into what we now have access as far as technology at our fingertips. And the industry has done a very good job doing that in many different ways. There's still a lot of room for scalability with some of the new technology, specifically blockchain, and because the way real estate is decentralized around the world. However, one singular platform, like a blockchain platform through OCL and other competitors, we get the opportunity to say, you may do it one way in one country, you may do it another way in another country, but if you're on our platform, at least, you can't always guarantee it from a government perspective, protecting your property or your own property rights, but you'll have proof that at one point that property was yours. And the goal is to do that first in the United States and then beyond that. So, where should people be, concerned? I think people should be concerned who are on the administrative side of the business. I think those that are, going along to get along and not learning and adapting with new technology as it comes out are going to struggle, because this is going to be rolled out over the next 5, 10, 15 years everywhere. And so, you either learn or you get left behind.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sitting down with me, Adam. And do you have any concluding remarks for this interview?
No, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to interview me on this. I think it's an important conversation to begin to have. And those that really understand the technology must be having the conversation with those who truly understand the process and the legalities behind it. And I think the marrying of those two in companies trying to solve these problems and create better solutions for everyone is the goal. And that's what we're doing here. And I think these are questions that are necessary to have and to start to figure out and to work on, because there is in my opinion, an absolute opportunity to create a new system what's already existed for hundreds of years with the technology that's only been invented in the last 20 years, and even blockchain, which has only been around for about 8 to 10. All of this comes to fruition, and those that know technology start to meet up with more and more that know the legal side. This is happening. And I think the most important thing for anybody who's interested in this space can do is work with, pay attention to, and follow what's going on, and jump in, sort of lean in where available, and participate in the growth of this new sort of sub industry underneath the massive real estate industry that is the biggest moneymaker in the world, and participate in what is going to be a shift of how everything is done in that space.
Thank you so much. This is Adam Yormack, CLO of On-Chain Listings, and I'm Sabrina. And thank you for tuning in today.